Good day and welcome. Today is February 18th, 2026. I'm Derek Fildebrandt, publisher of the Western Standard, and you're watching The Pipeline. Back in the studio, safe and sound, we've got the original lineup, our crew here, Western Standard, former opinion editor Nigel Hannaford.
Hello again.
Western Standard senior news editor Dave Naylor.
Good evening.
And back from exile in Tel Aviv, playing Fortnite in Tel Aviv, is Jeffrey Epstein.
Got the tannish over. No more island getaways. I'm afraid all I can afford now is desert spots in a fifth wheel.
But you're doing well in Fortnite.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Okay. I'm not sure everyone's as deep into the files as I am to be able to understand the inside Epstein jokes here, but you got to look into it if you want to follow along on this show. Okay. There is much clamor and hand-wringing and pearl-clutching because the Alberta Minister of Education, Demetrios Nicolaides, took a picture with an Alberta flag. Treasonous! Treasonous that an Alberta minister took a picture and posted it on Flag Day with an Alberta flag. Answers are needed. Justice must be brought forward, and the treasonous insurrectionists must be hung. I didn't want to talk about it today, but we have to. There was another significant shooting. I'm not sure if this one classifies as mass shooting, but a very significant, a very public shooting from a trans male who identifies as a female in the United States, days after the Tumbler Ridge school shooting. It's okay, though, because this is not a thing. These trans shootings are not a thing. There is no common denominator. The media, government officials have told us not to worry about it. In fact, what you see, your eyes are lying to you. Not a thing. So we're going to talk about why the media is correct and this is not a thing. Why you should ignore your lying eyes. But first, we're going to start with decision in from the Western Standard election prediction desk. Western Standard is now projecting a Liberal majority government. We're 9 months since the election, so this is a bit of a delayed call.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, to be fair to myself, I projected they would always get a majority. I think that's been a kind of consensus around the newsroom, more or less.
Well, you had a side bet going that they wouldn't, didn't you?
I bet that they would get a majority. Yeah.
But you covered your bases with me on that one.
Yeah, I've always believed they're going to get a majority here from floor crossers. By hook or crook, they're going to get their majority government. Edmonton Member of Parliament Matt Jeneroux crossed the floor just today, Nigel. Matt Jeneroux, to be fair, has always been a Liberal. He was first elected under Alison Redford for the Progressive Conservatives in Alberta, which in many ways was actually to the left of Mark Carney. Many of us kind of sniggered at the time that it was Alberta's first Liberal government. At the time, no one even thought of the NDP. It wasn't really a thing. But it was kind of a good precursor government to the Rachel Notley government. So he was always a left, very kind of left of center, progressive, conservative in Alberta. Ran federally. I'm not sure which was it under Aaron O'Toole he first came in, and
He's been 4 terms.
4 terms. Oh, okay. So he's been around for a bit, but he says he in an interview today. Or a little meeting today, he says he decided he was going to come around to join the Liberals after Mark Carney's speech at the World Economic Forum in Davos. That was, I think, off the top of my mind, maybe I'm wrong, January 20th. I checked my calendar, and January 20th, 2026, believe it or not, is after November of 2025. Off the top of my mind, roughly November 18th or something like that. But so January of 2026 is after November of 2025. 2025 is when he was forced to announce his eventual resignation when he got caught trying to cross the floor to the Liberals. He was already trying to cross the floor to the Liberals. This is extremely well known in conservative circles. That's what he was doing. He got found out. The Conservatives more or less made an offer he couldn't refuse. They're like, you can resign, or we're going to blow the whistle on you, and your floor crossing is going to get mucked, and you're going to look like a bad dude. So he said he needed to spend more time with his family. Evidently, he's sick of his family, did not resign, and today joined the Liberals, Nigel.
So it does, yes. Well, he's not the only one who wanted to spend more time with his family and then changed his mind when his family spent more time with him. I'm thinking of Sean Fraser, Liberal minister.
2 weeks of Christmas did it for me.
Yeah, Mark Miller too, and I think you need to all announce their retirement.
Everything you said there is quite right, Derek. His political inclinations have never been truly conservative. I had a quick check through. I mean, my memory's not perfect, so I went to Grok and I'd looked there as well, and I still couldn't find a single word of condemnation from our semi-official news agency. This guy has never been spotted by the CBC as a right-wing extremist. I mean, a lot of the people we know are conservative activists and so on, and every now and then they say something conservative and the CBC steps forward and whacks them, which is what it's there to do. I have never seen any criticism of Matt Jeneroux from the CBC. So that's just a hint right there. Well, the bare mathematics of this are that there are 343 seats in the House of Commons. One is the Speaker, so 171 each is kind of an even split. 172 is a very, very narrow majority. And if there are 3 by-elections out there at the moment, if the Liberals win all 3, they presently have 169. If they win all 3 by-elections, they'll have 172, and they'll have a majority of 1.
Well, one of those is Chrystia Freeland's seat, which I can't imagine a universe in which the Liberals lose that right now. So that's one. Take that off the table.
Yep.
One is in Quebec, where it was decided by just one vote, and it was proven that Elections Canada had screwed up, and it had to be that election was nullified by the courts. That one's a toss-up. What's the other seat?
That's in Ontario, is it? The young.
No. What's the Ontario one? Do we know?
We don't know. We're going to find out. That's the way we do these things.
Okay. But it's extremely close. They might just have the majority in the bag already if they win all 3. The Liberals are doing very strongly in Quebec, so maybe they squeak out in that seat. But that's obviously it's going to be tight no matter what.
It'll be interesting to see how quickly Carney calls these by-elections. Normally, political leaders, whether it's federal or provincial, drag it out, and they, legally they have to declare it on a certain day or after a certain time. He may want to call them pretty quick, I would think, to give him his majority. But I think the best comment, he's getting pillaried on Twitter, obviously. The best comment coming from an Edmonton MP colleague, Cory Morgan, who said, "What a jerk," on Twitter, and then quickly realized, all right, I'll take that.
How was that too hard?
I don't think it's hard.
That's the most polite thing I've ever heard him say.
I used to work with Cory Morgan. Come on, Cory. You know it. He was a jerk.
I'm sure the powers that be in Ottawa said, it's too spicy to do that.
Well, Pierre Poilievre called it a betrayal, of all the Edmonton Riverbend voters who had voted him in. There's got to be some better process than floor crossing. I mean, Nigel, you've been around the longest. I mean, what about a by-election? If somebody wants to cross the floor, okay, let's have a by-election. See if you still have the support of your electorate.
Well, I mean, that's theoretically possible, but nobody ever does it.
Okay, but it needs to be a voluntary thing, because I know everyone hates floor crossings when it's from your team to the other team, but everybody loves them when it's from the other team to your team. So, and we got to keep in mind, in our system, at least officially, we don't elect parties, we elect MPs. Otherwise, MPs are already essentially an electoral college for the prime ministership. If they can't change parties, they formally become an electoral college, and it even further strengthens even further the power of party leaders. So
that's what some people don't realize. You and I both got beat on a bit for trying to talk about that before, because people are saying, they don't understand him. You're actually empowering the leader more if you take away that ability.
There's huge unintended consequences, and also the unintended circumstances. Technically, on paper at least, it wasn't really considered to be such, but on paper, the creation of the United Conservative Party in Alberta required people to change their party allegiance from Wild Rose and Progressive Conservative into United Conservative. Federally, from the Reform Conservative Alliance and Progressive Conservative into the Conservative Party of Canada. That was technically floor crossing. Not really in the way, that wasn't in the cynical sense that we're thinking of now, but there's huge unintended consequences to it, and it would make our system significantly worse than it already is. Everybody in BC, who at least was on the side that wanted a change in the leadership of the BC Conservatives, keep in mind that if John Rustad had refused to go, pretty much the nuclear option that was next was for them to leave and sit as independents or form an independent Conservative caucus, which would have been bigger than the Conservative caucus itself, and try to force them out. In the end, you don't want to mess with this stuff and ban it. It sucks. And this kind of stuff is cynical. $20 says at least one of these floor crosses is getting a cabinet post. Probably more. They're not doing it right away so it doesn't look as cynical as, say, Belinda Stronach. You were around in Ottawa when that... Oh, no. Well, that was before your time. That was the end of... Not much.
Yeah,
but,
went to the big party she threw,
Yeah. So, those ones are really cynical, and we hate them, and they suck. But to make them illegal will actually make the system overall much worse.
It's something we could look at with this, though. We were talking about the speed with which County may or may not call these by-elections, where he eventually has to. But if he does them in a hurry, for those wondering if he's going to have a spring election, he's probably not going to. But if he's dragging it out, then they are keeping their toe on the water on possibly having a general election, because he's not going to want to rush into it, get himself a one-seat majority, and then fall on their own sword to start an election to try for something bigger. He'll kick that can down the road until they fully break that open, where some people think maybe within a month, if it's going to happen.
I think you're completely right on this. That's what to watch for. If he quickly calls these, that means he wants to secure his majority, and he'll probably govern with the cards he's got. Well, he's going to keep on trying to take cards out of Pierre's hand, but he's more or less going to play with Parliament as it is and try to reshuffle around in there to strengthen his majority. If he doesn't call these by-elections in pretty short order, I think you're dead right, Cory. That means he's trying to leave his excuse open, saying, I need a majority, keep our elbows up and fight the bad orange man. That'll be his excuse. He doesn't have that excuse once he has a majority.
Yeah, and I don't think we can rule out another floor crossing.
What's going to happen?
Whether it be a Conservative or NDP member, he could just still get his majority this way.
Yeah. So the other riding that's Bill Blair's riding, Scarborough Southwest.
Probably Liberal.
Probably Liberal, but back in the Harper days, we owned that Scarborough area too. So
and you had Jack Layton running second place over the Liberals in third. I don't think it's happening right now. That's going to stay a Liberal.
You could be right.
The NDP is
it's a winnable seat for the Conservatives, but if I'm putting money down, the Liberals are holding that. So 2 of the 3, I'm putting in the Liberal column. The third one in Quebec.
So maybe.
If I had to put money on black or red, I'm putting it on Liberal red here, because they're doing strong. They're doing strong in the polls, and the Liberals have the power of the purse. They're going to dump so much pork. What's the French word for pork?
Pork, just pork with a C.
Yeah, that came to be listening with the normal.
Kosher is pigs.
Yeah, I don't. Ironically, sounds like kosher. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, they're going to drop so much pork into that riding. It's going to, and Quebecers. No one's not susceptible to pork barrel spending. So I don't mean to pick on Quebecers. Just Quebecers are a bit more known for it.
They'll turn away.
You don't have to be subtle about it in Quebec. You could just say, vote for us and you get this. The Bloc can't give you this. They're in opposition. Vote Liberal, and we're going to, put a big statue of Baron de Neige or something. I don't know.
Yeah. And turning it back to, what to do. I mean, the amount of rage and cynicism, and that's what bugs me at these floor crossings. So it really sours people on the whole system. the only solution I could think of, which I would never see the feds bringing in, would be maybe a functional recall system. If the floor crossing really was that odious to the local constituents, they were that furious about it, then if you set the bar correctly, a number of people could bring about a by-election in that case. But I'm not going to hold my breath waiting for the feds to bring in a recall mechanism.
No, that is the correct way, I think, to deal with it. If we're trying to tweak the democratic system on this, well, you leave it to people to decide. A lot of people say, I'll wait till the next election. We'll see how he does. A lot of people will be pissed off enough, and they will get recalled. But leave it to there, because universally, look on your Twitter thread right now. You can predict exactly what people are going to say by the partisan affiliation. Conservatives, this is a betrayal of democracy. Liberals, we're adding to our team. This just shows why we're so great. And the exact same thing happens in reverse when liberals go to conservatives.
But on X, Jeneroux locked his account too, which says a lot. He's being very cowardly about this. I mean, he's hiding from the public and hoping for this to cool down. So he knows he's being unprincipled. He knows bloody well.
Yeah.
You know, the thing that strikes me about this, Cory, is that this is 3. What's the matter with the Conservative Party candidate screening system that these people sneak through?
Actually, if I'm not mistaken, correct me in the comments if I am, Matt Jeneroux was appointed the candidate without even a nomination.
Yeah, by Pierre Poet.
So he wasn't just not screened out, he was hand-picked and appointed.
I rest my case. So something needs to change.
And you got, that's a bit... Okay, I don't want to be unfair here, but for the most part, you know what kind of candidates MPs like? Automatons. Guys who are quiet, uncontroversial, don't say anything that rocks the boat, don't really think too much for themselves, they're going to follow the party line. And that's what you generally were getting with Matt Jeneroux. But this is not an original, I read it from someone else today, but, don't be surprised when the other party that likes mindless automatons for MPs offers them something that's slightly more lucrative and prestigious because they're on the government side. You can't be surprised when this is the kind of candidates you're running. So some of this is on Polyev.
All true, I'm afraid, but they sure need to do something different. That's like one is a headline, 2 is a nasty coincidence, and 3 shows there's something wrong with the system. So anyway, that's
all right.
Alas.
Moving on.
Yeah.
So, last week we talked about the Tumbler Ridge shooter. Won't repeat too much, but, we had, Dave, the media was, I say it, the media, the legacy media, was just, parroting the propaganda coming from the RCMP. It is a female in a dress, which we all instantly, as soon as we saw that, said, that doesn't make sense.
A male in a dress.
No, yes, but they said it was a female in a dress. The RCMP. The emergency alert that went out said it's a female in a dress.
Oh, did it?
Yeah, at a school shooting. And I said, that is mathematically improbable because women don't do school shootings. People who might call themselves women do, with alarming frequency, but actual women don't do that. That's a point inside of the woman's column here. And then we had gun person. We knew what was going on. We figured out, we confirmed it on the ground by 10:30, 11 o'clock that night. The media still called it gun person, etc. for another day. Eventually, under questioning, the RCMP admitted, it was a biological male, but we're still calling it she because we're respecting pronouns of this mass murder. And then we had just a COVID-style propaganda campaign. But I think this, COVID kind of ramped up the levels of propaganda. This one just went into overdrive right away. So it was in your face. It was, there is no trans shooting epidemic. Trans people are actually less likely to do this because there's less trans people. We're talking about proportions, you idiots. Of course there's less trans people. Of course there are more men than trans people, depending on how we're using those words, I guess, nowadays. But there was just this huge propaganda campaign in your face that was just so obvious that I just wonder, who are they trying to convince at this point? And then days later, Rhode Island, we have this guy. It looks like, in the South Park episode, Macho Man Randy Savage becomes a trans woman, and he goes in and beats all the women in sports. It looked just like that. This guy had Python biceps. Like the guy's pretty successful weightlifter of some kind. And he goes in and he blasts his family and some other people at an ice rink, another trans shooter. I'm not sure we classify that as mass. It was family annihilation. But just the here, let's just play a quick clip of our favorite far left propagandist.
They are layering hate on top of devastation for their own political purposes. As I'm sure you've heard by now, the suspected shooter has turned out to be trans, which actually doesn't fucking matter. Parents.
All right, Dave. So, the usual suspects and the whole legacy media just in overdrive don't know how to handle this now because they just spent days with in-your-face, very unsubtle propaganda that this is not a thing, insisting this is not a thing and you're bigoted for even thinking it. And then it bloody happened again, just days later.
It's quite shocking. I direct everybody to go to our watch section and call up a Derek rant that he did last week for about an hour, and he had all sorts of great statistics and whatnot on just how trans shootings are becoming an epidemic. And then just days later, this guy was off the charts, trans, freakish, mental illness. He was getting dressed up in sundresses to go to his son's graduation at school and stuff like that. Just awful stuff. He had Waffen SS flat tattoos, as Derek said, on his bulging biceps, and long-term custody battles. He went to the youth hockey rink, killed his wife, killed his one of his siblings or one of his children, wounded another. So Derek was right last week, and Derek's right again.
I do love to hear that.
Yeah, well, yeah. These things are happening. They are problematic. The United States media, I've been following it a little bit, New York Post, those type of things. They're picking up the transgender shooting thing big time now. They got a big column today saying trans shootings are an epidemic and needs to be addressed. Again, I think it all goes back to mental health. This guy, Nazi tattoos, dressed up, wearing high heels in a sundress. He looks like he's about 240 pounds. He looks absolutely ridiculous. Somebody's got to think mental illness. Somebody's got to do a weapons check.
That's racist.
I mean, that's part of what's happening with this, though. I mean, the common denominator with these trans shooters, now we've seen a number of them, they're all crazy. Just to say it bluntly, they're seriously mentally disturbed in the most violent and worst way. They were trying to come to grips with their mental health issues, whatever the heck they were. And it got into their heads what I need to do. And perhaps some counselors might even put it in their heads. What you need to do, obviously, your problem is you're in the wrong body. You need to change your gender identity. So that other fella, gets his dresses, buys himself a pair of jugs, still finds out, no, I'm still unhappy, I'm still crazy, and now I have boobs. And then they flip. I mean, when they realize that's not a cure for whatever their underlying mental health issue was. But, and it gets hard. I mean, we do know some trans people, they're trans people. They just want to live as another gender, and they tend to peacefully do so. But some cases, these are markers of somebody who's got other disturbances, and maybe they're reaching out to try and be trans, thinking it might fix something.
Yeah, it could be a manifestation. There is a lot of mentally unwell people out there. Most of them don't pick up a gun and massacre a bunch of people. Most trans people don't pick up a gun and massacre a bunch of people. But, this trans thing is sometimes, probably not always, but sometimes, it is a manifestation of mental illness. They're not necessarily... We don't know the motivations of these two. We do know one of the ones in the States, it was motivated by trans issues where they shut up a Christian school. The Tumbler Ridge one, we don't know. I'm willing to bet that the one in Rhode Island, probably not motivated by trans. It was just more, again, we don't know much yet, but it was probably more of a manifestation of it, and that it was a clear sign that this person is extremely unwell. Tumbler Ridge one, we don't know enough yet, but at a minimum, their kind of gender outburst is that's a new term.
The worst of it is that because there have been 3, there will probably be more.
Oh, it's been a lot more than 3. I just said a dozen on the show. I did.
We will get the idea that this is what you do, and eventually that fad will go. but not before somebody else is killed. Right?
Well, no, and it's actively encouraged. You had the BC, I hope I'm not getting this wrong. You had the British Columbia's Solicitor General, Minister of Justice, pictured wearing a shirt. It's got a knife on it, like a big threatening, like a Bowie knife or something, saying protect trans kids. Well, it's a very unsubtle message that, you respect our pronouns and you respect our so-called gender identities, or else violence. Like, this is being pushed by so-called mainstream politicians, mainstream cultural figures, institutional figures. This isn't just they're finding this on the dark recesses of the internet, some left-wing equivalent of 4chan or something. They're being told this by senior elected government officials that violence is okay if people don't accept you as you now pronounce yourself to be. So I don't know. We don't know the motivations between either shooting yet. Not too optimistic about it, considering how the RCMP outright lied to us literally from the moments that the shooting started, but or the way they handled the Nova Scotia shooting.
We will get it from Rhode Island, though.
We will.
American cops are so much better.
Yeah, so we're more likely to get it there. I have zero faith in the RCMP. But at a minimum, people obsessed with violent imagery and who have tried to present themselves now as a woman when they're very clearly not, this should at the very least be a bit of a red flag and be taken that this person is unwell, probably shouldn't have access to legal firearms.
Another thing that should have tipped them off, having the Nazi tattoos. The guy who did the tattoos probably should have picked up the phone and said, you might want to just run a test on this guy.
Well, God knows how long someone's had it. I mean, I've known people who were pretty normal and then mental illness set in, and it's subtle, and eventually you can't ignore it, but it's subtle. Who knows when he got it?
It's me is some of this denial that was putting people at risk. I don't take offense in knowing the knowledge that the vast majority of these shootings are done by men. I'm a man as well. I know that the vast majority of men don't do that, but when you're statistically looking at the propensity, as you pointed out, men are far and beyond more likely as far as that goes
10 times
to be there. And I see the public being put at risk when they start playing games with identifying, especially with a breaking issue. We saw this in Edmonton a little while back with, I think I was still working here full time. I just remember opening that up. They put an alert out, released sex offender, high risk, so on. This woman may offend, assault children and everything. So I click on the picture, or I click on the link because there was no picture. And here's this dude with earrings on and a 5 o'clock shadow. And this is a man. Now, anybody who didn't click on that link will be looking for a woman. They'll be thinking it's some strange woman hanging around playgrounds. No, it's a dude. Say it, for crying out loud, because now you're putting kids at risk for the sake of fear of misgendering. That's enough. That's just...
Well, in both cases, Tumbler Ridge and the Edmonton rapists here, we looked, it caught our instant curiosity because, again, to women's credit, women don't tend to do these things. Women are far, far less likely to commit sexual assault of any kind, especially
use poisoners if they're going to come for us.
Don't give Jane any idea.
Oh, jeez. Yeah.
Not to make light of the situation, but I wonder whatever happened to that trans teacher in Ontario.
Oh,
The giant
Yeah.
We should find out.
Follow up with Goodyear. Yeah, fine. That was...
Probably never was trans.
No, of course not.
I suspected he was trolling the system. Because those things look like guns on the deck of the Missouri.
Or he was outright crazy. I mean, that's part of it. That's an indication.
I think he was just trolling the system. I don't think there was ever any danger of him going into a classroom and shooting it up.
No, thankfully.
I suspect trolling. But Dave, make a note. Let's follow up with the USS Mississippi here.
Will do.
Okay. More madness. These are all just... Well, I guess the last two are actually. The first one, I don't know. We were trying to be the voice of sanity on the floor crossing one, but the next one is great. So earlier this week, I guess, was Flag Day, where we celebrate doing away with the red ensign that our soldiers fought under for 2 world wars and Korea, and replaced it with a corporate logo. I'm crapping on the maple leaf here. I don't know if I'm more about the Alberta flag, but I don't know, something about the red ensign still stirs my heart. And so it's Flag Day. We're in a relatively partisan vote. The Liberals just decided what the national flag was without kind of bipartisan consensus. Canadians have since accepted it. It's a fairly cranky minority of curmudgeons, maybe like Nigel, who have not quite accepted it yet. Still reminiscing about the glories of the empire. But it's Flag Day. And all the politicians are out, posting pictures with them. I struck pretty close to home there, didn't I?
Oh, you were there.
You had nothing to say.
I'll say the king.
Anyway, politicians are doing their thing. Cory, they're all posted pictures with Canadian flags. Demetrios Nicolaides, actually, it wasn't made into a big news story when I did, but when I was in politics on Flag Day, I'd always post a picture of the Alberta flag flying on my land. And some people, I was poking the beast a little bit. I knew what I'm doing, but like the media didn't make it to a news story. But I guess independence is much bigger in the news today than it was back then. So
hang on one second.
Prior to Flag Day.
Yeah, I don't know. I remember doing stories on you in the Calgary Sun because your condo person wouldn't let you fly the Canadian flag.
That's when I was a Federalist. There was a time. I was not.
A time.
God did not favor me to be born in Alberta. It is only by the grace of God who made me one. I was baptized in the bow.
There you go. Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah. That's actually the first time I think we ever talked back when you were working this on for that story. Rick Bell was pissed he didn't do it. Anyway, Demetrios does this fundraiser. I think raised something like $300,000 or something.
To bring it in attention to
violence against
his sister.
His sister had been murdered by her former spouse. It was obviously a very terrible thing. And in her memory, he climbed Mount Kilimanjaro. I know Demetrios. Good on him. He must have been working out. I couldn't do it. But anyway, he's got a picture of himself at the summit of Mount Kilimanjaro with an Alberta flag. I'm not sure if it just happened because it was Flag Day. I don't know. Anyway, media loses its mind. The usual Twitterati, or I'm not on Blue Sky, but I would just imagine what Blue Sky is doing. And then City TV does this thing. I forget let's put it up here. I don't remember the name of the headline, but let's throw up this headline from City TV. Just how delicate are these people now that, holding a picture of yourself with the Alberta flag, an Alberta minister with the Alberta flag, treasonous, implied treasonous.
Yeah, it's absurd. And it's showing the tone of where things are going to be going in this next few months. This has already happened actually a little while back. We were reporting on that Standard with that clown who managed to get an Alberta flag pulled down in a Safeway store.
Yeah, that was the Forever Canada guys working. It wasn't Lukasik himself, but it was the people working in his organization.
And saying it was offensive, and unfortunately, a reactive manager actually listened and pulled it down for a very short time. And to their credit, it went right back up with like, oh no, this isn't what we do. But these symbols, they're going to now read in what people are doing. We saw this during the convoy too. Mm-hmm. We saw them talking actually about people waving Canadian flags, saying, "Watch out, this is an extremist." They're waving a maple leaf.
Yeah, all these elbows up, people are saying, I am now ashamed of the Canadian flag. Right. The Canadian flag is this far-right fascist symbol.
And to do it, but I mean, just the foolishness of taking that tactic when it was a fundraiser for his deceased sister's legacy on domestic violence. Like, do you guys not just research a little bit before you throw that headline out?
Oh, no, they knew. That was in the story. Yeah. They knew it, and they did it anyway. And I think it's besides the point. He flew an Alberta flag.
Yeah, he's an Alberta minister. I mean, that's what they did.
And his flag.
Yes.
Guys, I know the reporter that did the story very well. Name is Nadia Moharib. She's a good friend of mine. She worked for me for about 20 years at the Calgary Sun. She was perhaps the most loving and generous reporter I've ever worked with. She's the type that would go to the family of a fire who was forced out by a fire. She would cook them dinner the next day and became friends with them. And she just had a heart of gold. Somewhere she lost the plot here. And I told her when I was talking to her, I wouldn't have run the story. I wouldn't have even assigned it. She's been flooded with hate. She's been called, Muslims and all. She's not a Muslim. But that's the tone people are taking with her. So yeah, it was a dumb story. It was a dumb idea to begin with. I don't know why she pursued it. And I think Cory's right. We're seeing now the temperature increasing almost every day. canvassers for the independence petition are getting harassed. Apparently we had a case of somebody being assaulted, and we're trying to confirm that. So it's only going to get worse.
Yeah, but I mean, to take something as innocuous.
Just dumb move. Dumb move.
But I mean, and to be fair enough, that is what the independence movement's wrapping themselves around. There's not necessarily a logo or a party or whatever. You go to any of those signing stations, and it's going to be surrounded by Alberta flags.
It's the Forever Canada Federalist one. They had Canadian flags there.
Exactly.
It's good on them. Whatever.
But to read that into any time anybody else waves, because that's what they've done. It's now anytime somebody is waving it, they're going to imply that you are an independent supporter. I only wish that every person who was doing that was the case, but it's going to get worse.
So we've created this monster. I am reminded of the other story that we had on the front page today, to go back in time with what we call things, but it was your lead story, Dave, about this guy, Mark Miller, the immigration minister. And what is he lamenting? He is lamenting the fact that there is illegitimate media that threaten Canada's social cohesion. And he called out the CBC in particular as being something you really have to fund because it helps to keep Canada together. Now, this story that we're talking about isn't a CBC story. I'd be surprised if they didn't cover it, but it wasn't their breaking story. But certainly the news outlet that did publish it is, by his definition, legitimate media. They've been around for a while. They don't take, they leave the truth alone unless it feeds the narrative. And they got in on this and tried to make it look as somebody who was doing a thoroughly decent thing, was actually an insurrectionist, potentially a terrorist, an independent seeker for Alberta, threatening the social cohesion of the country. So who do you want? Do you want the legitimate media? Or do you want people who actually go suss out a story, find it, publish it, tell the truth?
I think, to an extent, on Cory's point, the flags are symbols of both sides. Now, I mean, I think it's possible for someone to be a proud Albertan and want to stay in Canada, and that's fine, and they can have both flags. Some people might be not proud of Alberta. They're kind of ashamed of the redneck stereotype, and they just want the maple leaf. Okay, well, I'm less with you there, but fine. And, some people like me just fly the blue on our land, at least now, Dave. But, these are symbols. But to make a big story that it's, implying it's somehow treason for someone just to have the Alberta flag, that the Alberta flag now needs to be shunted. We got to take it down the flagpoles for now. This is now a dangerous symbol. They would have never said that to a Quebecer in their two referendums. The Federalist side was always very careful to say, fly the I don't know what you call the Quebec flag, but the quadruple
Fleur-de-lis.
the quadruple fleur-de-lis. Fly the fleur-de-lis proudly alongside the maple leaf, or you don't even fly it, but stay in Canada, but it's okay. They never tried to denigrate Quebec's national symbols, but these people are very clearly ashamed of Alberta's. They're now a symbol of sedition.
Mr. Nicolaides actually took an oath of office to Canada through his oath to the King.
Nope, you take an oath to the King, not to Canada.
Well, I've taken an oath of the King, but he is the...
And he's also the King of Canada.
Yeah, so it's not exactly an insurrectionist thing to...
but on this oath thing, when people say, hey, you took the oath to the monarch, this monarch there's 11 crowns in Canada. There's the Canadian crown, and then there's 10 provincial crowns. It is an institute, it is loyalty to the crown itself, not to a constituent part of it. You can, if it's done constitutionally or whatnot, there's nothing in your oath that is, dishonest.
So either way, I mean, getting back to the flags, one of the things I love about Texas, and there's many things about Texas, but I tell you, you never forget you're in Texas, even in a residential neighborhood when you're driving around, because that Texas flag is everywhere. And they do, for the most part, identify as Texas first, American second. They don't necessarily have a big thriving secessionist movement, though they do have a little one going on there. But they put that Texan pride first, and they wear it front and center. And often you'll see a Texan flag and an American flag. But you really see that state flag in ways that, I just came from the States. I didn't see Arizona flags everywhere when I was in Arizona, or California flags. But when you're in Texas, you see that flag everywhere. And we're seeing a little more of that in Alberta. In fact, a lot more. You see a lot more blue flags going on residential streets than you used to see. It's turning into a different kind of symbol, and that does scare some Federalists. And I think that's why they want to try and imply a little shame, or just remind people, maybe you shouldn't be flying that right now. And I think it'll have the opposite effect, though. That's other people say, screw you, I'm going out to buy 2 more off Amazon and run them up in front of my house.
Just want to give a quick plug to Cabinet Minister Todd Loewen. He also made the trudge up Kilimanjaro.
Oh, okay. But he's a little less surprising. He's an outfitter and a big hunter and stuff. Demetrios is a bit more of a city boy. So, okay. This reminds me. I'm not going to announce anything here, but I think I want to run some kind of flag program. I want to run a flag program here. I'm going to do something. This is not an announcement, but Mark, this is maybe this is the larvae.
It was 2:00.
All right, there we go. All right, Nigel, Cory, Dave, thank you.
Parting shots.
Oh, geez. Okay, well, fine. Go ahead. We got to be short. We're short on time.
Okay, parting shot tomorrow night, 6:45 p.m. Danielle Smith addressing the province. You can bet it's going to be on immigration and how Alberta wants to tighten up the number of immigrants coming here. You can watch it on the Western Standard, 6:45 tomorrow night.
Do it, Danielle. Do it. You know what I'm talking about. All right, Cory.
Well, following up on that, I've been hearing a lot in the news about how Calgary's had a record number of accidents, a record number of fatalities on the roads, and now with some people, including Farkas, saying we should bring back more photo radar to fight it. One thing, and I drive a lot. I spend a lot of time on the road, in the city and out. And this is anecdotal, but I tell you what, when it comes to winter driving conditions, the people having the hardest time with it tend to be new Canadians. You can tell.
People not from winter countries.
And to be fair, after a couple of years, they might be brilliant drivers. It takes a little bit of time to get used to driving in that sort of condition. It's a special sort of skill. But if we're really going to address the issue, grab a pair of knackers and point to where a lot of the problems are really happening with winter driving accidents, instead of thinking that sticking up some photo radar thing in a construction zone is going to change it.
Jeremy knows better. I remember him campaigning against photo radar. It was like, that was a big Wild Rose thing back in the day. It doesn't do anything.
It's a money grab.
It's a money.
If you're going to be honest with it, fine. Put them out and just say it's a money grab. Put a sign next to it.
It's a driving tax.
Yeah.
All right, Nigel.
So delighted to see that Don Cherry is getting the Order of Ontario. I'd like to buy him a drink, but who I'd really like to buy a drink for is the guy who got him on the list to receive the Order of Ontario. That was a good thing done.
I don't know who that is, but
Order of Canada next, please.
Yeah,
time's running short for that.
Well, if he doesn't get it soon enough, maybe he gets Order of Alberta. Okay, not enough time for me, so we're gonna pull it there. Nigel, Dave, Cory, and John running the show. Thank you very much. And thank all of you for joining us here today. Remember to support the work we're doing. Go to westernstandard.news, click on subscribe. It's only $10 a month or $100 a year for unlimited access to all Western Standard content and to support the work that we are doing here. Thank you very much for your time today, and God bless.